Big Blue Nation and sports lovers everywhere. Welcome to the BBN Report, where we talk all things college football and basketball. Now, obviously, this is the very first episode of the BBN Report, and I thought it'd be a really good time to start this channel up. It's been something I've been thinking about doing for a little bit of time now, and I really thought the first college football playoff rankings was a very good time to start this channel and get my initial reaction to these. Now, overall, I don't think the first list of rankings here is really all that bad. There's only a very little to complain about, and we'll get to that later. But there were some other things I just didn't understand, like why you would put a 3-loss Mississippi State team in the top 25 when their only good win is, unfortunately, my Kentucky Wildcats in one of the worst showings of the season from Kentucky. But, they also went on the road. I think that game actually was on the road in Memphis and got beat by Memphis, and they got a 1-point win over Louisiana Tech. Having a 3-loss team in there with that kind of resume, to me, just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Another 3-loss team that managed to get into the first top 25 for the playoffs was Wisconsin, which kind of surprised me a little bit. I mean, they are a 3-loss team, but their 3 losses are Penn State, Notre Dame, and Michigan, which obviously all 3 of them teams are ranked pretty high in this first initial poll. And I guess I can see where the committee's coming from in Wisconsin's case. Their 3 losses are, like I said, Penn State, Notre Dame, and Michigan. But they did over the weekend just drub Iowa over the weekend, 24-7. I believe that was the final score of that game. And Wisconsin did look really good in that game. But we'll get on to what actually matters here, and that is the initial top 10 rankings for the first rankings. And there's 2 things that really, really shocked me. I think everybody knows one of them. But the other one that really shocked me was Oklahoma at 8. And it's somewhere that they should be, and I don't even think Oklahoma personally is a top 10 team. There'll be some Oklahoma fans mad at me in the comments or saying that you guys aren't a top 10 team. Of course, that's my opinion, and honestly, I really don't care if you're mad at me. I've never really been somebody who cares if I make somebody mad before. But in my opinion, top 10 teams don't struggle with teams like Tulane, Nebraska, West Virginia, go scoreless in the first half against a terrible, terrible Kansas team, and need, like a 3-score comeback down against a Texas team, and when was in the world was the last time Texas was even worth a damn? But for Sooner fans, they are coming off their best performance of the year, in my opinion, over the weekend against a Texas Tech team who they just drubbed, I think it was like 52-21. And that's kind of looking more like the Oklahoma team we're accustomed to seeing, as a team that puts up a lot of points. And if they continue to play like that, and they're going to need to continue playing like that, I believe Oklahoma is on the bye this weekend, and I believe they have Baylor coming up next weekend. But if they sleepwalk through these games like they have with teams like Tulane and West Virginia, then they will get beat next weekend against Baylor. The other one that really, really surprised me and almost made me choke on my food that I was eating watching the reveal show was Alabama at number 2. Now, me personally, I am a diehard Kentucky Wildcats fan. Used to be a season ticket holder for football. But over the years, I have loved watching Nick Saban-led Alabama teams. They've always been a lot of fun to watch. And in my opinion, this is probably the worst Alabama team in the last decade, which is another reason why I was shocked to see them come in at number 2 and see the committee, for some reason, value Alabama so high. Especially when, me personally, I don't think their defense is very good. Since giving up 41 points in that loss to Texas A&M, Alabama's defense has played a little bit better, allowing only 9 points on the road at Mississippi State, and then only allowing, I think, 24 points to Tennessee. But when Alabama's offense does get rolling this year, it is fun to watch. And Bryce Young really is a kind of a front runner for the Heisman, even though I think Kenneth Walker would be my pick for the Heisman so far for Michigan State. With that being said, maybe the committee thinks that Alabama's working through some of its defensive issues early in the season, mixed with a honestly explosive and really good offense, is kind of maybe their justification for that number 2 ranking. Now, I wasn't shocked by this, especially as we started going up through the rankings and really seeing where the committee started to value head-to-head wins. But I was still a little bit surprised to see them place Oregon ahead of Ohio State. And over the recent past 4 weeks or so, I think Ohio State has looked like one of the 4 best teams in the country. It's definitely safe to say that Oregon and Ohio State are 2 teams that are definitely trending in different directions. Oregon kind of seems to have a going through the motions mentality, whereas Ohio State seemed like they've really flipped the switch, especially on defense. Their defense early in the season when they played Oregon was god-awful. They've since then, every single week, they seem like, in my opinion, they've looked like a much better team. And they got a better win more recently over a Penn State team was overall a pretty good game Saturday night. Now, I really don't understand why these analysts keep on saying that Oregon's win at UCLA is a good win, and UCLA currently is sitting at 3 losses. And even in that game, UCLA was marching down the field to score, and they just happened to throw up an interception to Oregon. They ended up sealing the game for the Ducks. And another one that kind of surprises me is Michigan State being ranked ahead of Ohio State. Michigan State, up until this past weekend, and they beat Michigan at home, hadn't played a single soul on their schedule so far. And I see where the committee wants to value that top 10 win over Michigan a little bit. There's another thing I can already see people complaining is Cincinnati came in at 6th. Now you're going to get the SEC bias with 2 in the top 4. It's not fair for Cincinnati. They're a group of 5 team, blah, blah, blah. But here's the thing. That win against Notre Dame is probably going to look really good at the end of the year because Notre Dame's probably going to go 11-1 unless they find some way to choke a game and get beat by one of the terrible teams they got left on their schedule, because the rest of their schedule is not very difficult for Notre Dame. But here's the thing for Cincinnati. A lot of things are going to play out maybe in their favor going forward, because you got Alabama and Georgia could potentially play each other, but I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think Alabama's going to make the SEC championship game unless some things get fixed with their team, especially on the defensive end. But I actually think Alabama won't make it to Atlanta because I think they're going to get beat by Auburn in the Iron Bowl to end the season. Another thing that's really going to work out in their favor for Cincinnati is the fact that Ohio State and Michigan State play each other coming up. And obviously the winner of that game is going to eliminate the other from playoff contention. So obviously that's going to free up 2 spots automatically in the top 4 there. And not to mention, I actually think Oregon will manage to pick up another loss as well. The way that they've been kind of going in the other direction since beating Ohio State in week 2. And I know the Pac-12 is weak, but I do think Oregon will potentially find another way to drop another game before the final rankings come out, and will really help out Cincinnati. So I actually think the Bearcats are sitting in a very good spot. I don't think their fan base should be upset, or the people that always want to scream SEC bias or whatever, what have you. But Cincinnati's is sitting in a pretty good spot, and I kind of like where they are. And I do think ultimately Cincinnati is going to get in, but Cincinnati really needs to start having some style points. The last couple of weeks, they've really walked through some games. They obviously just haven't looked very good. And they kind of let Tulane hang around last weekend before putting some touchdowns on the board in the 4th quarter and putting that game away. And I can't remember, the week before, they played either Army or Navy, one of the two. And I think it was Navy. And they just didn't look very good in that game, too. They were just kind of sleepwalking through the first half in that game. Then really turned it on in the second half and just really put them away. But going forward, I don't think Cincinnati can really afford to just sleep through these games for halves or even 3 quarters like they did this past weekend. They just really need to go out. They need to start putting 50, 60, 70 points on some of these teams and really just driving the nail into these teams' heads early, because their margin for error is very, very slim, and they really can't afford close games with not, honestly, very good teams. But as for now, it's all my gripes, complaints, and surprises for my first initial rankings for the college football playoff. And if you like this kind of content, I'm going to be uploading college football and basketball video. Okay. And if you like this kind of content, I'm going to be regularly uploading college football and basketball videos for the foreseeable future. So consider hitting the subscribe button. Comment down below if you think I'm a complete total moron. I personally don't care if you think I'm a moron at all. Go ahead and let me know, and drop a like on this video, because a little love does go a long way and can really help out the channel. And I'll catch you guys in the next video.